Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. We have got a massive show, obviously a huge stage at the Giro overnight. There's been a few little dramas at Ruta del Sol in the sprint finish as well. We're going to be talking to Allan Davis, but introductions, of course, I've always joined by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow, Olympic gold medalist Scott McGrory, and Team Bike Exchange cyclist Sam Bewley. I want to start with you, Iffy. You're coming into the show red hot, mate. There's a bit of pressure on you.
Well, yes. Luckily, I've been up at the beautiful Nagambie over the last 2 days, working on building a bigger deck. My wife said I needed a bigger deck. I think that's just been left, but I've been working on that. And I'm lucky enough that Jerry Ryan got a wonderful house up here. Just called around, and I'm still here. A couple of lovely glasses of red.
Been sampling the Mitchelton, John?
I have. It's funny. I've had a couple of this amazing Italian wines, and then suddenly Jerry brought on the Heathcote, Michelin and Heathcote Shiraz, and they're so much better than the Italian wines. We had to sort of move from one to the other. So I apologise if I mix a couple of words up. But anyway, moving on.
Bills, how are you travelling, mate?
Yeah, good. I feel like I'm probably in better condition than Iffy.
And Scotty, we'll get straight into unpacking a huge stage. I mean, from our perspective, we were sort of focused, obviously, on the GC battle, and it was great to see Yates, who's really been reserved so far, get on the attack with about 1K to go, and obviously Bernal is going so strong. But geez, good signs for Yatesy,
isn't it? Considering early on those other stages, he was sort of like the last of the GC riders to get to the line whenever it split on the hills and previously. So he wasn't, to be honest, very impressive by his standards in the early stages. But wow, he's come back in a big way, leapfrogged everybody except for Bernal. And hey, he was the only one to attack from the leaders group. Bernal was the only one that could follow with him. And he actually didn't lose a lot of time. It was only 12 seconds behind Bernal at the end. So he was really impressive. Great comeback considering those first few mountain stages. He was, as I say, less than impressive by his standards. So good result from him. Absolutely.
Bills, you were there in 2018. Do you think this is obviously a clear plan for Simon to ride within yourself in the first block, and knowing how tough that last week is to really find your peak form when you're going to need it most?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, you look at it the last week, or it basically started yesterday with Zoncolan. From now until Milan is the hardest part of the Giro. And you saw before the Giro started, there was a lot of talk about how Yatesy performed at the Tour of Alps. Was he coming in too hot? Was his form too good too early? And I think that when you look at yesterday, and if things continue the way they did yesterday, I think that it looks like he might have really nailed his preparation because he knows that the last week is where big chunks of time can be made up, and ultimately, Bernal is obviously flying, but the last week is where you really can win the Giro, and I think he's done it pretty well this year. He's laid very low. Obviously, in 2018, he raced a little bit more like Bernal. Sorry, a little bit more like Bernal's racing this year, basically taking time whenever he could, winning stages. And obviously, we know what happened at the end of that race, and he's taken
a bit of a technical glitch. Hopefully, oh no, Bewley might be on a blackberry as well.
No, I got you.
You got us? Oh yeah. You there?
He never missed a beat. You jumped in, and I could still hear it perfectly.
Oh right, it must be my computer. Sorry, mate. No,
sorry about that. It's another ship.
Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off? Keep going.
Oh well. No, I think I said pretty much everything.
And John, have we learned from particularly the Tour de France last year when we said, all right, foregone conclusions, Roglic has got this race sewn up. They're all saying that about Bernal now, but there's still a lot of bike racing to go.
There is. He's looking very strong, of course. I did predict that would change. I did think that Simon would get onto the podium by the end of the day. And it was interesting listening to the SBS coverage last night that Robin McEwen actually predicted exactly that. He predicted that Simon would move right up, and he was spot on. So, look, it was a wonderful stage. You couldn't ask for more. He didn't just think, well, I'm going to go with Bernal today. He changed the whole tactic of the race and took it on and blew everyone else out the back. Okay, in the end, Bernal hit him in the last 600 metres, whatever it was, and took 11 seconds. But the statement he made was, I'm out in this to take this bike race. So I'm looking at Monday is the biggest stage. It's the Queen stage. I'm looking forward to that. But then there's another two big ones. The penultimate day is a monster. This bike race is going to go right down to the final day in Milan, and I'm excited.
Now, obviously, the winner of the stage, another debutant, Lorenzo Fortunato. And Scooter, you put me onto a video from Alberto Contador. He is connected with the team, and he was quite excited in the final. Let's have a quick look.
Wow! ¡Están con él! ¡Sí! ¡Sí! ¡Sí!
Bewley, you speak Spanish. What did he say then?
I think it was pretty self-explanatory, Jonesy. You said yes a lot.
Yeah, I got that part.
Oh, I thought he was just a big fan. I thought he was a big fan of corn chips.
Sensational.
Yeah, CC's.
I did see earlier in the video, though, he said that he was going to, if he won the stage, he was going to ride from his hometown in close to Madrid to Milan for the last stage. It's 3,000 kilometres, he said. So he is committed, by the sounds of it, to riding 3,000 kilometres between now and Milan, which I don't know how he's going to do that, to be fair. But he's going to ride his bike to Milan, apparently.
Yeah, right. Hey, we got a quick comment from Jimbo. He said, disappointed with Sam's intro. Where was the Olympic silver medal mentioned? Well, Jimbo, when you're going to throw little barbs like that, you got to do your research. Did you win a silver medal, Bills?
Oh, I didn't win a silver. Does 2 bronze make a silver? I don't think so.
Sorry, I'll mention that next time you're on, dual bronze medalist. But, yeah, obviously a fantastic win. And I heard on the commentary that he didn't even know a week out from the Giro that he was going to be riding it. So, huge result. And one of the other things that on the flip side, which wasn't a good look, was the crowd, particularly this idiot that almost put him off his bike. Bills, is this – I mean, we've talked about this so many times, and now obviously with COVID restrictions getting a bit better, is it something that the riders are getting sick of, or has it just come with the turf of being a pro cyclist?
Yeah, well, obviously that sort of stuff's been quite common practice on climbs in the Tour de France and the Giro and years gone by with the big crowds. And it's dangerous, and it's not. We don't enjoy it. We love to have the thousands and thousands of spectators on the climbs, of course, but we do prefer if they keep their distance and not put us in jeopardy of potentially crashing us. And then obviously on top of it all right now, you've got a pandemic, and the cycling bubble is as Loctite as you can get when it comes to testing and keeping a healthy bubble. And I'm sure that guy, I don't think he had a negative PCR test before he went up to the Zoncolan. So, I'm sure the risk is low, but it's still not a risk that the bike riders want to be taking at the moment, being exposed to someone from the public so close. So, yeah, it would be nice if they just cheered from a bit of a safer distance. We love having them there, but yeah, keep your distance would be nice.
Scooter?
Mate, it's just stupid behaviour. Like, you always see people running along beside, and even they might be running alongside and still keeping distance. That's more about getting themselves on TV. Whereas that guy, he was physically bumping into it. The guy that was trying to win up one of the most difficult climbs, if not the most difficult climb in Europe. That is just absolutely stupid behaviour, and that guy's a complete imbecile. I don't care who he is, where he's from. What's going through his head that he thinks that is okay and that's acceptable behaviour? It's simply not.
Now, if you were in charge of crowd control back in 2014 for Michael Matthews, what would have you done to prevent something like that?
Well, I can go back to actually riding the Giro. I remember climbing on I think it's one of the big climbs anyway. I think whatever it was. But I had these people running up next to me saying, "No smoking tomorrow." I kept getting it all the way along. So I understand how bad it can be.
We've got another comment, and it says from Borman B. Bernie said he'd ride from Madrid to Milan if his team got a stage win. Hope he didn't spend too many biscuits on the video. I think Bernie, Contador, I think he means, doesn't he?
Yes,
yeah, as in Alberto, Bertie. Yeah.
But Bernie.
He'd have to get someone on the Derny, I think. Do an old sort of Bordeaux to Paris race style, maybe behind a Derny the whole way. Might have a chance to make the distance, but he's got Buckley's of doing that. But he needed that stage win to be earlier in the Giro to have any chance of reaching Milan before the finish. He could do it, but he'll be there 2 weeks after the end.
and Bill's a good mate of ours, George Bennett, in the break again. I predicted him for the stage win. He got pretty close. Geez, he's having a red hot crack, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm happy he is. Obviously, I'll be more happy if he won on stage, and I'm sure he's still going to have cracks still a couple of days that are good for him. But everybody knew the disappointment that he felt after he lost his GC ambitions in the first week there, and I'm just happy to see him still part of the race and still motivated and hungry and fighting for stage wins. So that's great to see from George, and I mean, we never really doubted it with his mentality. So yeah, still 6 or 7 days to go, and hopefully he keeps on having a crack at doing that.
Hey, Bills, what do you reckon if you put it out on paper, and sport's not, as simple as the way it's supposed to be if you were to write it out. But of that league group, because he is such a good rider and did go there for GC, even if he fell off from the GC itself, he certainly would have been the favourite to beat all of those guys in the breakaway. Yet, he wasn't able to keep up at the very, very end there. What do you put it down to? Why do you think that he's not quite at the level that we know he could be, could have been at?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's had a couple of big days now. He was obviously in the breakaway a couple of days ago, and he had a big day on the Strada Bianchi stage where he was attacking there. And I mean, I guess so deep into the race now, and although Zoncolan was, I guess, the first big GC day, there's still been hard days in the race, and you just don't know how the legs react. Some days they can be super, and then just the next day they can be pretty average again. So, and then obviously when you're in a breakaway, you're working hard and you're spending a lot more energy throughout the whole stage up until that point where you start to race for the victory. Whereas when you're riding for the GC, not that it's easy for those guys, but it's easier than being in a breakaway all day and swapping off and things like that. So there could be plenty of reasons, but yeah, I agree, Scooter. Sorry, I thought he would have been one of the favourites from if not the favourite from that group. But yeah, it could be just a day where you're just 5% off, and on a climb like Zoncolan, you probably need to be 110%.
And in other breaking news, I saw Jai Hindley's withdrawn from the Giro with saddle sores. Now, this is something that you had a few issues with, Scooter, back on the track. I remember you were telling stories about to cut your saddle so that you could ride.
Yeah. Well, there's some others as well. Terrible stories over the years of people with saddle sores. Not ideal. I had one. It was at I think it was the Herning 6 day in Denmark, and it blew up into an abscess. I had to get it cut. And I won't go into too many details, but I had the next race in Dortmund only 4 days later. So on the Monday, I came back from Denmark. On the Monday, went into a doctor, I was told that he has to cut it to drain it, but if he makes it too big, the cut, then I'll have to stitch it. If it gets stitched, then I won't be able to race. So he had to do this, small insertion to do it all properly. And then, anyway, I get to the race on Thursday, sat on the seat for the first time in 5 days, and it was, okay, that's a little bit tender, it's not going to work. So then they, just slightly off the middle of the seat, the mechanic cut the padding out, big circle of padding, took that off. I sat on the seat again, and I went straight through onto the plastic of the seat and thought, no, that's not going to work. So then they got the power drill out and just started drilling holes and basically just cut a big hole through the seat. And I found the spot, sat on it, and thought, that'll work. And then spent the next six day races.
You started a world trend, mate. That became how they designed seats after that, mate. You were
Could have been it.
You were the
I
start of
was
it.
the trendsetter. But I did six days with, and I went through a few different seats because it compromised the strength and integrity of the saddle. And yeah, basically just didn't get out of the seat for 6 weeks while I raced around the track. But I got paid, so that's all I was worried about.
Bills, is it a common issue in modern day cycling with the saddle sores?
Yeah, I think it's a common issue in all cycling before it was even modern, Jonesy. I think obviously the Giro this year, they had some pretty bad weather early on in the race, so when you're getting wet, that definitely doesn't help when you're riding with soaking wet chamois and things like that. And obviously spending so much time on the bike for so many days in a row, it is part of it. Luckily, I've never experienced anything as bad as that, or had to pull out of a race because of it. But I have heard of a lot of people who have had that issue, and I don't know how you avoid it. Saddles do make a difference, but we are, we're riding the saddles that our team is sponsored by, so you only have a certain amount of choice. But yeah, I think the weather wouldn't have helped for sure. The weather wouldn't have helped drying all those hours on the bike. So it's sad for him. You could see in that photo, it looked like he was already having pain with the saddle. So you look at his eyes behind that mask.
I saw on the website, I saw the quotes from his doctor, who said he was in so much pain they would not let him start today, that he was struggling. But I reckon it's been more of an issue on the track, especially in the 6 days, because of the centrifugal force that you have going around those small tracks, which pushes you into the seat all the time. So it's much more of an issue, as Gertrude could tell us about, than it is on the road. So you don't see it as much in road cycling anymore.
Well, so when I had mine, I finished the Herald Tour, Jack Herald Tour in Australia, flew straight to Europe, and I had a little bit of a saddle sore from the road. It wasn't too bad because you don't, as John was correct there, without the pressure. And then basically the first night of racing on the velodromes, 160-metre track in Herning, and the pressure through the bends, lap after lap, and bang, it just blew up. Tried to get through the second night, couldn't do it, and then that was it. But on the road, I probably could have managed. One of the things that, apart from just the pain of obviously having a sore where you sit, it's also you load up the legs a lot more because you're just never comfortable. You're never really just sitting comfortably in the seat. So you move around a lot more. You're putting a lot more pressure on your legs all the time. And you just blow the legs up. You're putting all this extra load. And people forget, Laurent Fignon, 1989 Tour de France, the one that Greg LeMond won in a record, narrow margin of 8 seconds. Greg had the aero helmet. He had the time trial bars on as well. But LeMond also had a really bad saddle sore or a boil that he was dealing with the last few days of that Tour de France, which perhaps also contributed to that memorable and unfortunate loss for a great Frenchman.
Now, I've never had a saddle sore, but I do get the odd gout, and then you have to overcompensate with your legs, and that flows through to your knee. So I feel your pain, Scooter. I know exactly what you're talking about. We had a comment, Bules. Samantha says, great work, Sam, in the Tour of Hungary. Now, we did mention that on the social distance, but not on the detour, mate. Congratulations. Demon had the victory, Damien Housen. Must have been a great race to be a part of.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, I had a bit of a rough start to the year with an injury and coming back from that slowly. And it was nice to go to Hungary and be part of the race and be part of the success of Damien and the team. And I mean, it was a race that was 5 stages and 4 sprint stages, just one GC day, as you see there. And so only one opportunity for Damo or for the GC climbers to win the overall, and he nailed it. I think he took a couple of lessons from last year where he finished 3rd in the same race, and he attacked a couple of K earlier than what he did this year. And I was rooming with him there in Hungary, and he was watching the footage over and over leading up to that stage, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly where he was going to attack, and he really did the research for it, and as you can see, it paid off. So it was great to be part of that, and great to see Damo actually take a victory. He's been working hard recently, and he deserved it.
And must feel good when, like you said, you're riding for a guy that often selflessly gives so much to others. And there's that famous stage from the Vuelta that time when Chavez was able to move up on GC with Contador, and Demon's ride that day was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And when he's jumped off, that's as cooked as I've ever seen a rider, where he literally couldn't even turn a stroke. So knowing that you're riding for a guy like that, it must have been, pretty satisfying.
Yeah, and it's great for Damo as well, because like you say, Jonesy, he spends the majority of the season working for other guys, working for Travers in that situation, or the Yates boys, or whoever it may be in other tours. And he gets opportunities every now and again, and I think it's really cool to see that he got this opportunity and he took it and he won the race. Often you can be given a couple of opportunities, and if you don't pull it off, then maybe those couple of opportunities you do get might start to go to somebody else, or however it may work. But when he was given the opportunity there in Hungary, he did all the planning, he did all the training, and he took it with both hands, and good on him.
What was the race? What's the actual race like, mate? Because obviously for the fans, they see the Giro, the Tour, all the World Tour races. But what's an event like the Tour of Hungary like as a rider that's been to World Tour, Grand Tour events? Was the infrastructure and everything great? What's the scenery like? Is it a good race? Yeah,
it's a great race. It's well organised. Obviously, it's a big race for Hungary. It's Tour of Hungary, and they put a lot of effort into it. They take a lot of pride in that race, and it was really well organised. In terms of the COVID protocols and COVID bubble, it was Loctite as well. But it was quite cool because Hungary's, I think they're almost fully vaccinated in that country. So they were allowed to have spectators, and there was a lot of spectators on the side of the road. It's in terms of the race itself, it's 4 sprint stages, and then the 1 climbing stage, and then being a lower level race, we had, I think it was 7 World Tour teams there, and then the rest were the sort of second category teams. So it does change the style of the racing. It's a little bit more uncontrollable, a little bit more unpredictable, and a little bit more dangerous at times in the sprint finishes. But no, it was a great race. It was a good race for me to get going. And I said on the Social Distance podcast to get a camel off my back, but I actually meant a monkey. Get the monkey off my back and get a stage race in and be part of the race again and contribute to the success. So no, I really enjoyed it.
Well, I remember when we were at the Tour doing the interviews with Julian Dean along the side of the road, and we had these fans from Hungary. Like, they loved their cycling over there, and they drove 1,400 Ks to hold up a Go Green Edge sign and got on the backstage. And they were super passionate. They did paintings for us all, and they gave us some local Hungarian biscuits. I think they were a bit dry, but other than that, that was great. Now, Bills, you've got to head back to Girona, mate. So I don't want to hold you up too long, but I want to get your predictions for stage 15. You are a bit of an oracle, like myself. You can sort of see who's going to get in the break. What do you think is going to happen today?
Never.
What?
What did he say?
He was never.
What did you say, Effie?
I said whatever.
Oh, right, hero. Will you predict the winner?
That was more against Dan than you, mate.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess Sagan.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, that's Sam Bewley with the insights of stage 15.
I like how John said that was more against you, Dan. So it's still a little bit against you, Bills, but more.
No, nothing against you, Bills. You're a legend, mate.
But do you think? But what?
No, seriously. As Dan is very, very ready to say, as everyone can see, he's never raced a bike.
Okay.
He did the winery ride once. He did the winery ride at the Mitchelton Winery once.
I did. And Bill said, mate, you got to keep going. You got to keep doing it. And I don't think I've been for rides since.
You lined up on the start, though. What was the race you lined up on the start?
The Giro, mate.
The Giro, yeah. You
signed on at the Giro, yeah.
You're ready to go.
First guy numbers on his back.
First guy pushing 100 kegs to ever sign on at the Giro, mate, and that will never be broken. We've got another question before we go, Bill. Seems a breakout ride for Nick Schultz at the Giro. Keen to hear Sam's thoughts. Is it a surprise or just a year-by-year development?
No, it's not a surprise for me. I think Schultz has been progressing really well over the last couple of years, and he won the stage in Arthur's Seat a couple of years ago at the Jayco Herald Sun Tour, and he's always performed well in different parts of the season. And he started this year going really well. He was third overall in Coppa Bartoli, just a couple of months or 6 weeks out from the Giro. And he's been showing that he's in really good condition this year. And he's done actually quite a few Grand Tours. He's only been in the World Tour for a couple of years with us, but before that on Caja Rural, he did a couple of Welters. So I think he's probably got about 4 or 5 Welters in his leg. So he's not a novice when it comes to Grand Tours, and obviously earned his spot in that Giro squad and performing really well there and being right beside Yatesy for a lot of the stages. So it's not a surprise to me. I really expected him to ride well there because he has been riding well all season.
All right, mate. Well, we better not hold you up. Better let you get back to Girona. Have a safe drive. We'll check in with you soon. And thanks for your in-depth analysis of stage 15, mate.
No worries. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys.
Cheers, Bruce.
Take
mate.
it easy, mate. That's Sam Bewley, folks. Before we go any further, I think it's time for a quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange. Scooter.
Mate, I'm just talking about the GC with where things went after yesterday. From Yatesy in second position, he's now at 1:33. So Bernal's keeps slowly increasing this lead, even though he looks so dominant, so strong. Still only 1:30 ahead of second place, which is okay. At this point, it's still a fair bit, but it's not as much as perhaps he has indicated with how strong he's been. But if you go back to Ciccone, he's only 3 minutes 3 seconds back. So you got Yates, Caruso, Vlasov, Carthy, Bookman, and Ciccone within a minute and a half, racing for those last 2 podium places. So while Bernal does look like he's the standout, you've got this great little battle now that's starting to form. 1.5 minutes, 2 weeks into the Giro, with a week to go, with 3 big mountain stages. This is going to be a great fight for the best of the rest. Maybe someone can get the better of Bernal somehow, but at the moment it doesn't look that way. But this is going to be a pretty good battle, I think. Mate. Minute and a half is not long.
What do you think he needs to do? If he do you keep chipping like what he did and make your attacks on each of the big stages, or do you sort of hold back and then just go bang with sort of 2 or 3 stages to go?
Well, I think I predicted last night that he would be on the podium by tonight. So there you go. Look, I think that Simon's ride last night was perfect. He felt good. He went bang at the hardest time of the race. Okay, he couldn't answer Bernal in the last 800 metres when he went past him, but only lost a handful of seconds. But it was the way that he took the race on and put everyone else, into question mark. I believe that Monday's stage, which is the real Queen stage, we'll see Shane, see Yatesy even go, further into that delving into the lead, and that's the whole thing. He's not sitting back. He felt good, so the normal person was, I'll wait for Bernal to go and I'll see if I can hold him. No, he went bang. That's what I liked about him. So I think we'll see more of that over the last few days. And you got to remember, we had a monster last week. This is seriously tough. The hardest final week of the Giro that I've ever seen. And even the penultimate day, it is really, really hard. But Monday is the Queen stage. So looking forward to it.
Well, you keep talking about the last week. What I can do is bring up the preview. Thanks to Cycling tips. This is obviously today's stage, but this is the stage you're talking about, John. This is stage number 16.
Yeah.
And then you've got stage 17. That's not an easy stage with a couple of cat ones towards the end there.
Exactly.
And then you've got stage 18, which is obviously one for the sprinters. And then you've got stage 19, which is Rude. And then this monster, which is the penultimate stage. So, as you said, there is a lot of bike racing to come. And, geez, Scooter, how many minutes could you lose if you were on a bad one on the penultimate day? You look at the profile there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the interesting thing about the Zoncolan is we all know how steep it was, how brutal it is, but that was the climb of the day. And as I say, the gaps, because everyone's going is almost as slow as each other, So, and they don't have. I think there's more danger of losing big time in these stages than what there was last night. When you've got climb after climb, and if the weather changes, you throw that factor in as well. I think there's, if Bernal continues to be by far the strongest rider, he could drag Yatesy or someone else, several minutes ahead on these last couple of stages. And that could completely change where things are at the overall classification. It's not going to be a minute and a half between the top, the next 6 riders over the next couple of days. It'll really start to blow out.
All right.
So Monday, we have 3 climbs that go above 2,000. Now, we're talking about how Zoncolan was a monster. It was 1,700. We've got 3 climbs on Monday that go above 2,000. And we're talking to, a few of the experts earlier saying it's snowing already in those areas. They don't even know if they're going to get over those mountains. So, we've got a challenge ahead of us. And it's exciting. I'm looking forward to this last week. And I can just see Simon really challenging over these next few monster mountain days.
So this is the big one that you're talking about, John, stage 16. This one here.
Yep. Look at that. 2000.
The C category, like the Tour de France horse category. The Passo Podori. That's the brutal one, yeah?
Yeah, Podori. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the highest. That's the highest. That's the Chimacopi. So the highest point of the Giro for this year. But yeah, with 2 other climbs that are almost as high.
But the cap one after that is really the one that's going to decide the bike race because that's too early.
Yeah, Passo Jarl. Yeah. And the descent to the end. Now that's what Cadell was talking about the other day when we spoke with Cadell yesterday. He said he'd been out there to just test that climb and the descent in particular, and he was relaying that to who he's talking to in the race about what that descent is like, getting ready. So BMC, obviously they're sponsoring the Quebec Assos team, and he's still working with them. But he did mention that yesterday that Cadell was out there just checking out the course and the descent.
Well, talking about Cadell, he enjoyed our show that much last night, and we loved having him on board with his little fella Blake in his arms. It was fantastic. He enjoyed that much. He came back to me and said, a text, Johnny, I'm available tomorrow night as well. So tomorrow night, we'll get Cadell back on to discuss that amazing stage that's coming up. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and as we always say, get involved with the show. So ask some questions, get some questions ready for Cadell tomorrow night. We've got a couple that have just come in. Alan Rankin. Barring a mechanical or crash, does Bernal have a weakness that Yates or others could take advantage of to claw back time? Scooter.
I don't think so. I don't. And look, the thing is with Bernal, we look at him like he's a softly spoken Colombian, seems like a really nice guy. For all accounts, he is. But he has inside, like Miguel Indurain. Okay, Miguel Indurain was always seen as the gentleman, really nice guy. He had a killer instinct. He didn't openly show that like in the way, say, a Lance Armstrong did, who could be a real prick. They had this drive within them to be the best that they can be and beat everybody else. Bernal has that. He has a real killer instinct within him, and he's got a real leadership character as well. You hear that from people that work with him, that he knows what he wants, he knows how to achieve it, and he wants people to help him achieve that. And he's not just this guy that comes along and, well, hey, who gets to win today? Well, can I please? No, he wants to be the winner. So I think that character, that attitude, that is what you need to win these big events. And if you look at Froome, on Contador, Nibali, any of these guys, that's the attitude that they have. He has that. He can climb better than anyone, obviously. And his weaker point might be the time trial, but he's not that bad at that. All right, so he's pretty decent at the time trial. He's now probably, if you look back, he's got a minute and a half on Yates. Caruso's at 150. He's probably already in a winnable margin. You know, even if it was Remco Evenepoel that was sitting in second or third, he'd probably still be able to hold on to the overall win in that final time trial over 30 Ks at the end. And he's an ex-mountain biker. He's great with skills. We've seen that already on the descent, so he can go downhill fine. He's not nervous in the bunch. It's going to be hard to beat him.
We've got some more comments. Obviously, Wendy Superfan, how you going? Jenny Whitehead, good evening, gentlemen. We've got Isabel. She's tuning in from Quebec, beautiful part of the world.
Nice,
Jason Cruz from the Maldives, doing it tough. G'day, Jace.
So good.
Yeah. And we've got another one, Iffy. Free Ranger says, has Remco lost his descending mojo, and if so, can he get it back? You know Remco really well.
Not in a hurry. No, Remco is actually, I don't think he'll finish top 10 in this tour. He struggled that day. He struggled again last night, and he'll keep doing that, and he'll drop out of the top 10. It's interesting because I've seen him to be in this short time that he is a very good bike handler. So I'm not sure it was just bad bike skills or he was just in a bad place. But on that day, on those gravel sections, he was in trouble. So, it's interesting. It shows maybe a little crack in that amazing armour of this exciting young man.
Maybe socks and jock sales have plummeted and it's just pissed him off.
Hey, when he crashed in the Giro de Lombardia, so his team, Taconi Quickstep, were doing an incredible job of destroying the peloton towards the last couple of climbs because they had so much faith in him as a 20-year-old back then to go on for the win, right? That's how, how great he looked as if he was going to be. But it was Fulsang, Nibali, Ciccone, these guys that were nailing it on the descents that put him under pressure when he had the crash. And he was sort of he was struggling to hold on to those guys on the descents, and that's when the mistake happened and he had his nasty crash. Then you fast forward to now, and it's his first race back, put him on the dirt roads, and the reports were that, look, he was there or thereabouts, but he was wasting and spending so much energy to put himself, in that front group that eventually he just blew up. I don't think he's that comfortable on the dirt. And I think when he crashed, the big crash at Lombardia, that was because he perhaps wasn't quite, just a couple of % off those awesome bike handlers. They put him under pressure and that's why he crashed. And he's new to the sport. He obviously his physiology is extraordinary. We'll just have to see how he progresses with his descending ability. Because at the moment, it shows that he's not quite as good as those guys. And those guys are the best in the world, so you don't have to be far off them. You can still be pretty good. But, if you're not as good as someone like Nibali, he's going to put you under pressure.
Now, back to last night when we had Cadell on, one of the interesting takeaways that a few people were talking about on social media was Olympic selection. He was clearly disappointed with the selection that there wasn't a one-day racer like a Michael Matthews in the squad. Samantha's asked a question on the Olympic selections. Do the cyclists have to be paid members to be in contention for selection? Same small teams in men's and women's. I think is that like you have to be paid for Cycling Australia membership or something? Just imagine if you got robbed of a Olympic selection because you hadn't paid your $70 fee or whatever.
I can see, Scooter, you being an Australian selector, you filling up with. I mean, no, of course not. Every Australian who is registered to race is up for selection. So those selections are made on the form at the time.
That's correct. Look, in terms of paid membership, they're all paid members. You have to be. You can't be racing in Europe unless you've actually paid your fees to have an international racing license and you're a member of Oz Cycling. So, they're all starting from the same position. But look, in this situation, there's several factors to it, right? So you're looking at the course. What are the riders that are best suited for it? But then also, we're also looking at the allocation of riders that we have. We've only got 4 riders that can ride the men's and women's road races. Normally it's 5. We didn't qualify enough points to get enough quota spots to have a full contingent of 5. You've got a World Championships, and then you're up towards the 8, 9, 10 riders, or whatever it is these days, that you can select for a team. So the Olympics is very limited in terms of numbers. And then they also then look at where are our best medal chances. If you're looking at an overall Olympic team for Australia, you're looking also at the track and then versus the road, and where are our best chances to win? Is it in the team sprint? Is it in the team pursuit? Or is it on the road? And typically the road is by far the least chance or percentages of winning overall, 140 or so riders. It's actually the biggest, the IOC are trying to reduce the number of athletes at the Olympics. And if you look at BMX freestyle, they've come in for the first time. We've got 2 riders that have won world championships in the last couple of years. But if we finish second in the nation's rankings before the final qualifications, we'll only get to send 1 rider. So the number 1 nation gets to send 2. Everyone else gets to send 1, but there'll only be, I think it's 10, maybe 11 competitors in men's BMX freestyle at the Olympic Games. That's it, only 10 riders. Now, we want to have 2 to give ourselves a better chance because our guys are so good. You look at the road race, there's 140 riders still racing for 1 gold medal. BMX freestyle, we've got 2 guys that are a chance racing for 1 gold medal. And the IRC look at that and think, well, hang on, the road race, that's a lot of competitors for 1 medal. What other sports could we put in instead? So there's a whole bunch of things around quotas and where the medal percentages are going to come from. On the track, we've traditionally been strong. On the road, not so strong. So we're going to always focus our efforts towards the track when it comes to the Olympics compared to the road. And that's where Cameron Meyer comes into the selection for the road race as well. Rowan Dennis for time trial, Richie Port and Jack Haig, specialists for the road race. And it gets hard. You can't fit in a Simon Clark as well because he's great in one-day races to help the guys. Michael Matthews obviously is a potential winner overall. We've only got 4 spots. It's pretty challenging.
Okay, I'm confused. I am confused, Scotty. You've done it again. But
no, is that Scotty's issue tonight, John?
No. Don't go there, Dan. But let's get back to basics. So picking a team, if you're picking a team to win a gold medal on the road race, then okay. If you're picking a team that allows riders to go into other events, okay. There's a situation. We haven't won a medal in the Olympic road race since back in my day, and it wasn't me, but Clyde Sefton won the silver medal in Munich. That's the only medal we've ever got in the men's road race. Now, we've had some wonderful days with Kathy and Sarah. But so the challenge there. But if you're going to pick a team to win a gold medal, you pick someone who can win a one-day bike race. And as much as I love Richie, and he's in great form, he doesn't win one-day bike races. Michael Matthews is the guy who could win this. I mean, he Amsterdam Gold, Liège, the rides he can do on that, just that type of course. I can't understand why he's not in the team.
We're going to have to park that for now because Matt White is ready to go, and he joins us now. Matt White, first question, how's the blackberry holding up, mate? Can we get through?
Well, let's make it quick. Otherwise, sorry guys, we were caught in a traffic jam on the way here, so we've just got to the start, done the team meeting, and we're going as long as my blackberry lasts.
Oh, beauty. Well, first of all, congratulations, mate. It was a sensational stage yesterday. You must have been really proud of the ride of Simon Yates and the rest of the team.
Yeah, it was a good one, mate, and it's a good sign for things to come. It was one hard climb, but it's, the gaps, I didn't expect such big gaps basically in 2.5 kilometers, but they were good. They were good, and it certainly sets us up very nicely for what is a very hard last week.
Iffy?
I was just going to say the guys all did a great ride, but Nick Schultz has really stepped up in this Giro. And I was impressed with it. He's still not that far back. I think he's 17th and not that far down. So how impressed are you with his ride?
Yeah, look, very, very impressed. I'm not so surprised. He was at a very high level in Tour of the Alps, and he's a guy that's just been working hard over the last 4 or 5 years, and he's just he's gradually improving. And he's ridden 4 or 5 Tour of Spains, but he's certainly in the best form of his career, which is great, and just shows that he's still developing. He's not an old guy, and I still think there's more room for development, and it's awesome that he's been able to step up in such a big race and deliver for us.
Scooter?
Hey, what did Simon say before the stage? Did he feel that his legs were on, or was it not until he got to the Zoncolan that he started to feel okay?
Knowing Simon how I do, he doesn't say so much about his legs, but I can tell when he's confident and when he's ready to go. And I think the one thing that's changed with the group here as well is once we got through that gravel stage, I think it was a lot of relief there, and that he got through with the front group, and then we could go and attack normal sort of racing. And he definitely is improving. And we've had a plan coming into this race, and it was to ride a little bit conservative in the first half of the race. And once we got through that part, now usually we would go after stages a lot harder, but there's a plan in place, and we're sticking to that plan, and it's working so far.
Do you think one big advantage with those Yates brothers, and they showed that way back in 2014, was they respected their opposition, but they didn't fear them? Even as young blokes, they don't fear anyone. And this situation that we're in, so much of the media are going, Bernal's so strong. That no fear, particularly in that last week, it's game on. And we've just had a comment, in case you didn't realise, Whitey, from the Great Divides, Whitey, the dream is still alive, mate.
Yeah, exactly. The dream has not changed. Look, we're one day at a time, but the tricky one tomorrow is I was talking to Johnny this morning, is there's snow predicted for tomorrow. So as you can imagine, there's a fair bit of drama floating around, and there's a bit of talk between a lot of different groups to what is going to happen tomorrow. And obviously the organisers would want to run it as normal. Then there's obviously the sprinters there's actually a couple have already gone home and not starting today, but are looking for bigger time cuts. And then there's the safety issue, and I dare say we'll be talking about it for the next 24 hours, and we'll probably end up doing the stage anyway. But that's the biggest stage of the tour tomorrow. So first things first, we get through the pretty short and pretty tough circuit race we've got today on the Italian-Slovenian border. But that's a big day tomorrow. You're looking down the barrel closer to 6 to 7 hours for tomorrow.
And is there snow on all of those 3 climbs across the second half of the stage?
Well, mate, the thing when you go above 2,000 meters in spring, you could even have the front group could ride through the sun, and the back group could be in snow. Like, the weather can change in 15, 20 minutes. So the prediction is for 1 degree and light snow. And look, that could change also. We looked at the weather for this morning. It was supposed to be raining, 20% chance of rain and cold. And I think it's like 19 degrees, and it's actually a lot windier than it was supposed to, but it's sunny. So the weather's been so unpredictable this race. But so in 24 hours time, but the mountains, once there's a bad weather system stuck in the mountains, it doesn't usually move so quickly. Michael Matthews is up training in Livigno at the moment, and he got snowed in this morning. So it's the same range. It's not too far as the crow flies, but it certainly ain't going to be warm tomorrow.
But can't they call Italians' version of Mr. Plough, half hour before the riders come through and just plough the road? I mean, we've seen races, Torino, they've gone up when it's, been a bit snowy. Yeah,
and then they've called off stages in Toronto because of rider safety. And then 24 hours later, when the actual race went on, weather was good. So yeah, anything could happen. But I think the sport has changed a bit in the last 10 years, and the rider safety will come first. But I know the organisers will do everything they can to make sure the stage runs in its entirety.
We've got a question. Scooter first, and then we've got a fan question.
You mentioned the wins picked up today, mate. So that's just one of those little stressful things, isn't it, for the GC guys and teams? How strong is it, and how open are the roads? Do you know?
Yeah, so we've like most of the stages here, we've reconned it. The first 15K is direct crosswind and open, but then it turns into a headwind. So I dare say it'll be a nervous, stressful first 15, 20 minutes until the break goes. And then we turn inland. And when we approach the circuit, it does become a little bit more sheltered. That graphic does not give the stage any justice. It's a tough, grippy it's a circuit. It will not be easy. But I think Peter Sagan's got it, and Bora will want to try to win today. They haven't got too much competition now because the sprinters have gone home, and they could control today. Or the other option for them is to pop him in the break.
Yep. We've got a fan.
That was my question, actually, Whitey. Most of the sprinters have gone home, so there's no sprint teams to really control that day. So you would think it would be a breakaway.
Yeah. Well, what they'll try to do is they'll try to let the break be small, because if it's a 3 to 5 man break, it will be pretty easily to be controlled even by just Bora alone. So if it gets bigger, then Bora will probably try to put someone in there. But knowing how Bora ride, it's all.
Oh, his blackberry's gone.
The blackberries.
I like how every time it cuts out, I'm just sort of sitting there not expecting to be on the camera. It's the shock of it all. He did warn us. He said you got to get in quick, and the question was, I don't know if you heard it, but Whitey, and this is from Free Ranger on YouTube, Whitey, any truth in the story that RAI TV asked Stannard DS why are they chasing, and he replied, because a champion should win on the Zoncolan. That's a fair clip, if that's true.
Wonderful.
That was that's what they said in the commentary, yes.
Hang on.
Are you back, Whitey? Can you hear us?
Almost.
And I can hear the aircon as well, so he's in there cranking the aircon.
Even Jerry finally gave up on the blackberry. He's got to give up on the blackberry, mate.
Oh, yeah. Can we crowdsource Whitey a power bank? And then Wendy Superfans chiming in, it turned into a raspberry. Oh, here we go. He's back. You there, mate?
I'll keep it out of the sun. Yeah, thanks, Macca.
Oh, this is Macca's phone now, the iPhone.
Mate, you sit in a car with no air conditioning and direct sunlight, it cooks any phone. Don't be.
Yeah, okay, all right, mate. Hands
Don't
off
be
the
picking on
BlackBerry.
your BlackBerry.
I haven't got the ready to go.
Okay, the fan question was from Free Range. He says, "Whitey, any truth in the story that RAI TV asked the Stannard DS why are they chasing?" And he replied, "Because the champion should win on the Zoncolan."
Knowing their directors, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that could be true.
That's pretty direct answer for whoever's up the road.
It didn't work neither.
No.
It's actually a wonderful statement, because I wrote my story in the Great Geelong Andy today about that. I said, the fact that he came out and said that statement, only a champion should win on the Zoncolan. It's great that he felt that way. Shame that his rider wasn't able to step up, but that's a beautiful thing that riders or the managers think that way about the event. And I agreed. I always, when you get to these big mountains, it breaks you up the road. I think, I'd really like the best rider to win today. So in the end, the big guys didn't get there, but gee, it was a bloody wonderful win by the young bloke. Anyway, his first ever professional win. So I was okay.
Yep. No, it was a well-deserved win. I think not too many people would have bet against George Bennett when that break went down the road, but there was some guys in there a little bit fresher, and they got the better of the people that George was probably is the best climber in there, but he's certainly not going the best that we've seen him over the last couple of years here during the Giro.
One of the things we mentioned earlier in the show, Whitey, was just the crowds, and we almost had a really bad incident with one of the crowds, and the race winner, Lorenzo How have the crowds been, and was it a bit sketchy on the final climb there?
Yeah, they must have lost a clicker at the bottom when they got to 1,000. Yeah, because
more than 1,000.
There was more than 1,000. Yeah, there was more than 1,000, mate. I don't know how. It was pretty big crowds. Mate, all the towns we're going through during the day and the start area, it is normal Giro crowds with masks. It's everyone. Everyone is saying a couple of days ago. Everyone over here is very COVID fatigued. They want to get out of the house. They want to see sporting events. They want to go to concerts, and the Giro's on, and they're going to watch it in droves. So it's been great for the atmosphere of the race. But there was a few people, there was a few guys on the Terps there, on the final climb there, running up like clowns with no masks on, and we don't need those incidents with or without COVID. So, but it's hard to police. It's hard to police. But there was certainly more than 1,000 people on the final climb.
Hey, we obviously we're not watching the Italian news, but what's the go with the news now with COVID, the situation in Italy? Where are they at? Are they feel as if they're in a much safer place and that's why everyone's coming out, or they're just completely over it and they don't care? But behind the scenes, how is the scene in the hospitals and everything?
Italy's doing a really good job, especially in the last couple of weeks with the vaccination process.
Oh, the iPhone.
Oh, that's good. No, they're doing a good job. Well done.
I like how it went to your single shot then.
Yeah.
Normally it pops on mine.
Close.
You know what? I think we got a fair bit of content out of Whitey there. He's fried an iPhone. He's fried a BlackBerry. It was a sensational effort. And we did catch up with Allan Davis earlier because, as we mentioned at the top of the show, there was an incident at the Ruta del Sol in the final there with Daryl Impey and Rom Stannard. So he's the sprint coach for Israel Startup Nation. So I got his insights, particularly on that final. You're just on the way back. You're at the airport now from Ruta del Sol. Now, the final was a bit chaotic there yesterday, mate. Do you want to take us through what happened?
Yeah, Dan, it was a bit of a – we were on the rough end of the pineapple, actually, with this one. So our main sprinter for the day, Daryl Impey, crashed basically within the last 5 meters, about to take the stage victory in our second stage victory for the week. So it was a rough way at the end of the day, mate. But we're in contact with him now. I was in the hospital with him pretty much all last night. Yeah, it's I can't really say too much on his condition. Quite confidential until we make an official media statement. So he's right, mate. He'll bounce back, but it may take a bit of time.
Yeah, obviously with the sprints of late, there've been a lot of things talked about, riders crossing off their line or whatever. It wasn't, there was definitely a shift, but it wasn't, to the stage that you see in other cases with Grunewagen and things like that. And do you boil it down to one of those things that happens in sprinting?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Like I was just having a coffee here at the airport. Jente Berriman's, one of Daryl's teammates and my teammates. He's part of the lead-up man, actually. And it's one of those things, Daryl did everything right, come off the wheel when he needed, when I asked him to come off. It was just, he was in front of the race with, 10 meters to go, about to win.
We've got the vision here.
A rider on his left. And he, as you do his sprinters, there's lines. So he went over to the line to nudge it a little bit, make it even harder for Stannard to come round. And it wasn't as if he made a violent move into Robbie Stannard and, put him in the barriers or anything. He was just protecting his lead, and what he had to do to win. And I'm sure he put Rob in the other. If Rob was in front of Daryl, I would have expected Rob to do the same thing to Daryl. Once you get that lead, you can run in between, but without going over the line. And I felt Daryl did that. As you said, mate, in the past, recent history, we've had some pretty bad accidents, and there's been a bit of a lockdown or crackdown on sprinting, and I think Daryl had a bit to play with yesterday as well, with the disqualification of Daryl and stuff like that. But and the other thing was they had the head down, mate. They had the head down, both sprinting for the victory, and as soon as the wheels touched, that was it. There was no controlling them falling down.
And obviously there were some heated scenes at the finish line there. I mean, Stannard got the finger point out and Daryl's on his back. And I think even the Eurosport commentators said, you know, that was a bit rough. When a guy's on his back, giving him a spray, there's not much you can really do. But they're all okay now, I hear.
Yeah, mate. You know, I was there after the finish line as well. I couldn't really, but when all that was going on, I was getting blocked by security to go and just check on Daryl's welfare and health, you know. But I could see it personally. And then, you know, once I got there, I just went straight to Daryl and actually forgot about it. Was straight into making sure he's okay, you know. And to be fair, mate, after the finish, I went back to the bus and all the other guys had already seen the footage of what happened. You know, I got into it. Robbie Stannard was a bit annoyed, as we all do, you know, and it's heat of the moment, mate. We're sprinting, and that's why we're sprinters. And it was a spur of the moment thing, mate. There was nothing intentional. I went to Robbie and the team himself personally after the race, and you know, just gave a bit of a yarn with him, and he was, you know, completely gutted himself and sad, and how he, you know, kind of reacted and the image he showed. So top fellas, hat off to Rob as well. You know, he knew he didn't have to do that. You know, Daryl's in a pretty bad way, so on top of everything, and they were teammates last year, mate, and actually good mates. So yeah, it's all good. Rob, when I got to the airport, I made sure Rob got Daryl's number and let him know that Daryl had his phone, and he sent an apology straight away, mate, which I did. So yeah, hats off to both.
That's good to hear, mate. And before we let you get on your flight, give us a bit of an insight as to, you know, what you do in your role, you know, helping the sprinters and so forth.
Yeah, Jonesy. So I started here at Paris-Nice, so at the start of the year. As you know, I was with the UCI for a couple of years as a technical director, and that
we used to blame you. Remember on this podcast, we blame you for anything that went wrong with the UCI. You were our fall guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, mate, that's right.
Yeah. So you're clear of that now.
Yeah, no, I'm on the other fence of that now. I'm into them. I'll be like you guys.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no. So this door opened up, mate, and you know, once again, just using my skills and also experience, you know, for over the last 25 years. So I've always wanted to get back into a World Tour team as a director, you know, as sprint director, and utilise the knowledge I have and be able to pass it on to the boys and be amongst the, you know, the comrades, you know, and yeah, go to the biggest races in the world, mate, and, you know, have a crack. So it's been a really good start to the year. The whole team's, you know, we're on a good trajectory, I think. We've had a couple of nice victories. Yesterday would have been even better. Like, just to keep the ball rolling, you know, as we're heading into a very important time with the tour, not around the corner, just around the corner. And
have you been watching much of the Giro, mate? What are your thoughts on the Giro so far?
Yeah, I mean, we get glimpse of it, mate. I actually did, see, mate. I actually did the Tour of Hungary last week, and so well done to Lucia this week. So I've had two weeks on the road, and following, you know, when I can, the Giro. After the race, basically, when the final of the Giro, I think we've seen a very strong Bernal, mate. Jeez, he looks good, or even better than good. So I think it'll be hard to beat Bernal now. We've got Chimale there, our sprinter, picking up some quite good close podiums. He had a couple of seconds, thirds. We've been knocking on the door, especially that first week. Yeah, let's hope for a stage victory towards now, and the end of the race will be our goal.
And building up for the big one, the Tour de France, mate, do you think Israel will be taking a bit of a two-prong attack going for the sprints and GC, or have they given you any indication on what the focus is going to be?
We're still in the process, Dan. Yeah, I can't really state at the moment, but obviously yesterday's crash with Daz didn't help either. He's one of our really strong links within our team. I'm sure we'll have a performance meeting in due time, and we will reassess not only the tour but all the, especially Daryl's program moving forward. You know, we've got some really good GC options. At the moment, our best GC option is Michael Woods, who's displayed really good form this year, especially the Tour of Romandie not that long ago, and like I said before, he's on a really good trajectory. So he's in for the Tour, and Froome as well. Obviously, Froome can come back and to what he did before. You know, we have a lot of trust and we hope Froome can come back and give it a show, not only us but the world and what he deserves himself. You know, get back to some normality with his cycling, and Dauphiné will be a big key to that, to see how everyone's performing.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Well, all the best with your role, and we'll shout out to Daryl Impey, of course. Hopefully he's on the mend and he's back for a really big second part of the year, mate.
Yeah, no worries, Dan. Appreciate it, mate. All the best to you too, mate, and then the show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. I see there's a Burger King behind you. Maybe slip in a bacon and egg before you get on the flight, mate.
I can now, mate. I'm on the other side of the fence, so bloody I just had a coffee, mate. Just to start the day. You know, I've got to set a good example these days.
Yeah, wind yourself into it. Don't go too hard too early. Good on you, mate.
Good on you, Jonesy.
I couldn't help myself. I had to slip in a Burger King reference. There's a big neon sign. What was your take on the sprint there, Iffy? Obviously, you know, you don't like seeing that. And Daryl Impey, you know, he said it was confidential and they'll release a statement, but he's not good, and he's going to be doubtful, obviously, for the Tour de France, and he's good mate of the show, so we wish him well in his recovery. And it's a shame for Stannard as well, because, you know, you looked at that helicopter vision and he was on track to winning the stage. So what was your take on it, John?
Well, seriously, amazing, really. I mean, Stannard would have won the stage, which is, you know, bad luck. But it was just one of those things. Daryl Impey closed the door a little bit, but there was still room. It's just how they hit. They hit elbows. Stannard was going past actually quite quickly. He would have won it by half a length. But their elbows hit, which actually pushed Daryl the other way, and he actually fell first and fell in front of him. The two of them went down. They skidded almost to the line, didn't cross the line. Look, and I know they're all going a little bit, you know, media were going crooked, Stannard, for going, you know, for getting stuck into a fellow cyclist laying on the road, not knowing how badly the Daryl was injured. But hey, they're mates. They were teammates. I can tell you, if I'm about to win my first ever pro race and someone knocks me down, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be. That's it.
Yeah.
It was just simple, you know. They're friends. They've sorted it all out after. I looked bad at the time. Hey, Scooter, how would you have been? The bloke knocks you down. You're about to win your first pro race. Would you have just said, that's okay? Or you went, you bloody mongrel.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons when Homer wasn't allowed to swear, and he stood on that nail and he goes, "Fiddly dee, that would require a tetanus shot."
No, look, you're spot on, John. I thought it was interesting from it was Brian Smith, you know, ex-professional rider on the Eurosport coverage that was, you know, calling out Rob for pointing the finger. But Rob, I think Rob was completely fair in that. Look, Daryl didn't want to crash. Daryl wasn't trying to cause a crash. It was, as you say, John, just the awkwardness as when they came together, the lost balance that brought them down. But it was Daryl's fault. Daryl did have a straight line to the finish line if he wanted to take it, and he had his head down because he wanted to see who was coming. He could see Rob was going to be passing him before the line, and he moved out into him. It wasn't a vicious move, but it was enough for them to come together and cause the crash. And I feel for Robert, you know, like I certainly feel for Daryl. Daryl's, you know, we all love Daryl. He's a great guy, and we hope that he does recover quickly. Sounds fairly serious, actually, about his injuries that may be, you know, taking him out of the Tour this year. But for Rob, you've got to feel for him, mate. He was winning that stage, hands down. And you can see it from the helicopter shot, the speed that he had, he was going to be going straight past, and he basically just got taken out. And I probably, if I was in Daryl's shoes, I would have done the same thing. You would have done that, John. You would have moved out into them.
And
it's just that
always straight down the line.
Bullshit. But we would have moved out. And I guess what makes it harder for Daryl is that there is a white line showing the straight line to the road.
Yeah.
He's gone from one side of it to the other side of it. and they crashed.
It didn't
Daryl's
move.
fault.
It's just they just came together.
Yep. All right, fellas. Well, we've gone for an hour 10 tonight, short and sharp. Now, predictions for the stage, is it even worth it? Is anyone going to beat Sagan, boys?
Look, I'm not. Is Chimolay still in? I'm not sure if he's not in. Chimolay might give him a run for his money. He's sort of in the mix, but yeah, look, Sagan's got to be the favourite, hasn't he?
Yep, I'd say so. Iffy?
Well, I don't know. It's a breakaway stage for sure. So if the break
George
gets
Bennett?
no, not George. If the break goes early,
De Gent.
well, I'm going to throw him into the mix. I'll throw it again. Sagan, yeah, whatever. But no, I'll throw Thomas again.
So it's 2 for Sagan, 1 for De Gent. We should have it covered. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, fellas. It was a big episode, and thanks again to Allan Davis and, of course, Matt White and Sam Bewley. We're going to have another big episode tomorrow night. We've got Cadell on, don't we, John?
Cadell, he's come back and asked to come on tomorrow, so we're not going to knock him back. But Grace Brown, again, great ride. She's second on equal time in Spain, and hopefully she can just pull that half a second she needs out of the fire tomorrow. But the women's racing in Spain's been absolutely sensational, so just sort of whack that one in at the end.
Good stuff. And, yeah, we wish her all the best for sure. As we always say, make sure you tell your mates about the show, youtube.com/the Detour Podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, give us a rating, review, and subscribe. And we'll see you all again tomorrow for Cadell Evans, who's going to join the show again, and have your questions ready for Cadell. Get involved with the show. We'll see you then. Thanks, fellas. Take it easy.